previous season, we've seen him playing a lot of Kalista.
Suits his playstyle. Super aggressive guy. Loves to play really aggressively on his AD carries, and Kalista is kind of the champion that rewards aggressive playstyle like that. Poppy being banned out here, Prince Philip not going to get his hands on that once again. One of the champions I think I've seen him have the biggest impact with was versus XL, I believe, when he played in the first game that we had of our tournament, XL versus Null Titans. He played that Poppy and absolutely destroyed those team fights. Alistair banned out, neither Raisins or Outrage will get their hands on them, which is interesting because Alistair is the only champion we've seen Raisins play so far.
Yeah, that is true. And I mean, Alistair in general has been a super popular support, incredibly powerful, not just in this tournament, but also in the LCS, in the LCK. Very, very popular at the minute. Nidalee and Elise both going to be banned out. So we're going to see a little bit of jungle diversity here. We've seen a lot of both of those champions. So what are we going to be seeing here? Could be Graves jungle, could be Rek'Sai.
I was going to say first pick Rek'Sai because Caesar has played Rek'Sai and has been incredible with it. The only time we saw Caesar perform at the level that he was sort of touted at playing at was when he played that Rek'Sai. And I was about to say first pick Rek'Sai is likely what we're going to see. Prince Philip could be getting his hands on that Fiora, however, and being probably the carry player of the Null, I'm looking forward to seeing Prince Philip on something that isn't a tank. He can be a little bit more aggressive with and maybe show a little bit more of that mechanical prowess that he has. I know he's been playing a lot of Fiora recently.
Well, I've yet to see Philip on basically any AD top laner, to be honest. Like, in his history, he's played, or to my knowledge, like, my casting history of Prince Philip has been Singed, it's been Malphite, and it's been Maokai. And then maybe a little bit of Vladimir sprinkled in there for flavour. But first time we're going to see him on Fiora within this tournament. Definitely very excited. He's a very mechanically skilled player.
What's interesting about Prince Philip is, yes, originally he was definitely known for those. Diversified his champ pool and actually ended up climbing very high in the solo queue ladder because he's got such a good knowledge of the top lane.
Incredibly good player,
And recently he has been playing a lot of Fiora and playing it to great success, so looking forward to that. But it has given the other top lane monster over here to Fearless. Either Fearless or Hainton. We have seen Gangplank take a mid twice this tournament, once by Loza, and I believe the other time by the XL mid laner Recycle. So both of those guys took Gangplank mid. We have seen him, I believe both times Gangplank went mid he lost, although I'm unsure on the Loza one. I'd have to double check.
Sure, to be
but Raynamort going to take his tried and tested Lux. Larkin going to get his Kindred, which has been 2 out of the 3 games that we've seen Larkin play has been on the Kindred.
Yeah, and he's been doing a good job on it. I'm really excited for this top lane matchup. They are going to be hovered, so that kind of tells me that this Gangplank will be going up to the top lane. Fearless versus Prince Philip, Gangplank versus Fiora. Now, we've kind of harped on over the last 2 days about how these are the king and queen, the monarchy of the top lane. We've yet to see them actually battle each other. Talk to me about this matchup a little bit.
It's an interesting one because it can be won either way. In general, I guess the advantage lies with Fiora just because of her ability to trade without the need for barrels, for instance. She can also riposte the damage from the barrels, so a well-timed riposte can negate what Gangplank usually does to win his trades, which is just that burst that comes from the barrel. So in general, Fiora does do better, but you got to remember that both of them are equally good at split pushing, and Fiora without her Ravenous Hydra or Titanic Hydra is a pretty poor split pusher. She needs to get that, whereas Fearless doesn't need a specific item to start that split push. You can always get the barrels down. In general, I see most Fioras do well. It really depends on how Fearless plays, because you can play Gangplank in the sense that you can use, like the old Gangplank, you use your parley as an aggressive move against melee top laners. You just consistently parley to try and work them down and get auto attacks off that are empowered with your passive whenever you can, and then use the barrels just to try and harass them away. Again, it really depends on how Prince Philip plays. When it comes to an all-in, Fiora, especially with her ultimate, will likely win that 9 times out of 10, especially if she can riposte a significant portion of damage. But you take it over an elongated period of time, Gangplank should be able to wear Fiora down. Again, really depends on how Prince Philip is planning on playing this matchup.
And how many oranges he can get into that battle. But another pick that we've yet to see in the Premiership here, we've got the Ezreal coming out for Luke. Now, Corki was available here. Corki would have been an option for them. Now, obviously, Corki did get tweaked down a little bit in the most recent patch as the hashtag ESL Premgrems come on in. Talk to me about this Ezreal pick here. Talk to me about why we're seeing the Ezreal over the Corki.
I'm really disturbed. My chair moved itself.
Yeah, it was a ghost. Did you not know the studio is haunted?
I didn't, but now my chair is haunted and I'm actually a little bit scared, to be honest. Anyway, the Ezreal being picked up here is the first time we've seen the Ezreal picked into a game here at the qualification tournament. I was talking about it earlier on. We haven't seen one yet of the only remaining AD carry from the Big Four that we haven't seen as of yet. Corki unbanned, so interestingly enough, they're going to go for the Ezreal. Really looking for a poke composition, I suppose, coming out from Nil Titans here. Leave Prince Philip in the split push and just poke your way through the other lane that the rest of your team is going to be sitting in. Larkin going to be there, I guess, to stop any potential hard engage coming through with that Lamb's Respite, or at least provide a buffer for them to get out from. But mostly you'll just see Raymond and Luke just poking down, trying to siege as a 4, allow Prince Philip to split in the side lane, and then hopefully take towers from winning out through the poke war.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how that one's going to pan out for them. Obviously, they've got a decent amount of poke, and as well, they've got that kind of Demacian duo of Lux and Ezreal to play with, so they're going to have that lore-based synergy coming into play. Very curious about the Nautilus support that we're going to see coming into this one.
Exactly what I wanted to pick up on. I actually quite like it. You don't have the Malphite being run here, so you don't have that hard engage that you need to deal with this potential split push and poke composition, but actually Nautilus brings that to the table, and I sometimes would prefer Nautilus to a Malphite in terms of the hard engage. Malphite has one tool to engage with, that is his ultimate. Nautilus has a variety of tools that you can try and put to your disposal, and especially if you catch someone, you can lock them down. The thing with the poke composition is, as soon as you catch one person, you generally tend to be doing well in the team fight, because it kind of throws them off guard. They then don't have the kind of team fight that will match up against what we're seeing on the side of TCA. I mean, once you get into a scrap here, you're going to give that to TCA every day of the week. You know, Ahri is a better team fighter than Lux. Lucian, when you get up close and personal, generally tends to do better than Ezreal, unless we're talking hyper late game where Ezreal is a monster. So you have multiple tools here in terms of the Rek'Sai tunnels, and then you also have the Nautilus here to help engage upon this poke composition. And there isn't actually much there to disengage for Nul. You've only got the Braum. So I like TCA, very well thought out draft here, in an attempt to deal with this sort of moving poke composition. They've got a good pick with Lux as well. You know, if you manage to pick someone off, that's absolutely fantastic. You can try and just burst them out and then try and siege after that. But looking at it, you know, if they play their composition effectively on the side of TCA, they should be able to deal with what Nul is throwing at them. Especially since it takes a while for Nul to scale up here. All three threats here scale up quite slowly. That's one thing I was about to touch on, is the Nul composition is very much a late game composition. Like the Ezreal, when we see Ezreal's doing incredibly well, it's towards that late stage of the game. I mean, you saw the SKT bang quadra kills coming out on that Ezreal. That was because it was like a 45+ minute game. You ended up seeing him going for those crazy plays and just doing insane amounts of damage. Same with Lux, same with Fiora. If you get to that late stage, they're going to be terrifying. On the other side, though, you got the Lucian, who is still does a lot of damage late 100%. On, but can't quite match up to the same scaling as Ezreal. No, you mean especially as Blue Ezreal, which when you get to those later stages, you have such long range harass, as well as your auto attacks do a lot of damage just based on that, how powerful Mura Mana can be. So yeah, the longer you leave this, the Nul definitely have that timer where they say, we as champions scale better. Obviously, there are always ways to play around late game compositions with the things like the charm from the Ahri, the catch from the Nautilus. Pick compositions generally tend to do quite well against late game compositions, just because if you do pick one of the late game carries off, you're always in a good position. It's one of the best ways to deal with a late game composition. You know, you look for the pick, because that's sometimes the only thing you can do, because obviously going into a team fight versus 3 late game hyper carries is going to be really difficult for you. But you know, like I said, you know, it takes a while for this to scale up here, and the TCA guys, they've got a really good skirmish and scrap team. So should they ever get into a position where they're being sieged upon, and they're still in a position where they can fight effectively against the later stage composition from Nul, then they still have the advantage. You know, they definitely have something they can do there. Yeah, and TCA as well, they've got an incredibly good opportunity here to run this as almost like a catch composition. Like, you've got the charm, you've got the dredge line from Nautilus. If they can find the opportunities to do so, if they can be the ones in the driver's seat rotating around the map, and they can force this catch to come on through, then they might be able to find themselves snowballing into the lead. But if you want to let us know who you think is going to be able to take this one, make sure you let us know with the hashtag ESLPrem. But we are ready to get onto this map for our 5th game of the day, our 3rd match of the day, and we're going to find out who our 3rd qualified team is of this season. Is it going to be TCA, or is it going to be the Nul? Well, just based on paper, you know, Nul look like they have the slight advantage. You know, I don't think Prince Philip, when he gets to a really big stage, will be able to be dealt with effectively by Gangplank. It really depends whether he can riposte or avoid the majority of the damage. You've got to remember that there's 2 techniques that Prince Philip has in his kit that can try and avoid that barrel damage, which is obviously his lunge and then obviously the riposte as well. So you can always dodge out of the barrels, you can riposte the barrel damage too. So Prince Philip definitely has a lot in his kit. There's more room for outplay as a Fiora than there is to as a Gangplank, I think, in terms of basic strategies there.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think the composition pick from TCA was very intelligent. And I definitely think they have potentially looking for a lane swap as well, as Ezreal heads towards that top lane and Prince Philip maybe going to run round with Larkin. So they don't want to put Lucian and Braum into this matchup against... Lucian and Nautilus against this matchup with Ezreal and Braum. They want to lane swap it in. But it's going to put Fiora in a fairly precarious position here. She doesn't classically do very well in a 2 versus 1.
No, but at the same time, if you don't really want the Ezreal in that 2 versus 1 either.
Yeah.
So I suppose if they just go for kind of that buddy system, that double jungle to get themselves through that early game, then hopefully they'll be able to get Fiora into that position where she can go for the split push.
My only issue is there's actually a fairly huge tower dive threat in the early game against Prince Philip if he does eventually make his way down to that bot lane. I imagine what will happen is what we generally tend to see. We very rarely see the top lane ahead and try and do a 2v1 anymore. That is just something that's like the 2 versus 1 lane swaps of old. You generally see that top laner rotate round with your team and then just look to help pressure the top lane turret, and then they'll go back into a 1 versus 1 afterwards. So this is just trying to get Ezreal through the early few levels. We'll have to see how they manage these waves as well when they get towards the turrets, as the blue buff is going to be stolen away by Larkin and Prince Philip, but I imagine in kind you'll probably see the guys focus down the blue buff on the side of Null.
This is much more sort of LCS standard starts to games in the current meta. This is kind of what we're seeing a lot in the competitive play, where you see kind of these first 2 towers end up getting traded. We're seeing Prince Philip and Larkin go for the Scuttle Crab. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them go up towards the top lane afterwards to force down that tower. And likewise on the bottom side of the map, we are seeing a couple of pings going down in this mid lane though, so maybe we see some kind of play coming out here from Rainmore and Larkin, but all in all, I would expect these first 2 towers to be going down either way, and we'll be seeing then the lane swaps turn around.
Yeah, they stacked a huge wave at bot to push onto this bot lane turret as they are moving towards it, and very good wave management control by Raisins and Giblet as Fearless tanks a couple of shots on the turret just to allow the minions a little bit more time. The Null also stacked a pretty huge wave. They lost their siege minion now. They're going to try and bounce this effectively. There is quite a lot of minions to try and set to the death here if they want the minion wave to move back towards them after they take this turret, as Larkin very aggressively moving past some wards here. He's being pinged out. He's going to try and take his wolves off the map though.
I really don't like this position from Larkin. He needs to be careful because he knows that they're pushing down that bottom lane. He knows that that's basically their jungle. He should be over in that top side of the enemy jungle. He should be counter-jungling.
Yeah, at this point in time, you know that Rek'Sai is likely around your blue area. You know that Gangplank has just appeared there. They were moving around as a unit together. Larkin definitely could have made something happen around the bot lane. He does just sit here, and the wave is going to push towards the Null on this bot side. So that's good for the Null. We'll have to see how Prince Philip has managed his wave in the top lane. Looks like it also... getting it pushed towards him. So the Null, in terms of their wave management strategies...
Oh my goodness, Rainbow is actually going to tick out. The flash Q actually comes out of PJ Cesar. It's a little bit too late. But Hatung has picked up a solo kill in that mid lane.
Yeah, and just as I was talking about how Null have effectively managed their waves, they managed to lose that solo, or rather not a solo queue, but a kill, but a good gank in the mid lane there, and it's a put pressure onto Rainbow, who had a pretty bad game versus Renegades Banditos right at the end there. Got absolutely trashed, if I'm honest, by Cadril. Got to make sure his confidence is back up for this game. He is a really important member of this sort of siege composition coming out, and this poke composition coming out from the Titans. He wants to make sure he's in a good position. However, this wave management by TCA may come back to bite them, because both waves, like I said, are pushing towards the Null Titans. They had a far better control on the waves in the top lane, and actually TCA mismanaged that wave in the bot lane, because you can see here Luke having a huge wave pushing towards him. This is going to start to starve the TCA lineup of some gold, as Prince Philip is guaranteed freeze up here in the top lane.
And that's terrible, terrible news for TCA. Having both lanes freezing against you. This is basically now PJ Cesar has his work cut out on where to put the pressure to kind of deny these freezes, and it looks like the pressure's going in onto this mid lane. Rayenmore once again in trouble. He's already used both summoners, and he will be going down here. One more auto attack. PJ Cesar picks up that kill in the end, but Larkin is coming down to this bottom lane. Raisin's going to be able to hook onto that wall. He's not going to get caught by the Winter's Bite, though, and might just be able to escape this one. A chunk of damage going out, but it's not going to be enough to kill him.
Yeah, no vision control for the Null Titans around that mid lane. And this is exactly how the Renegade Banditos absolutely stomped versus Null earlier on. They put all their pressure mid lane, absolutely punished the Anivia pick from Rayenmore, and already he's starting to struggle. Larkin now the target because some really good vision control could see him coming through.
Yeah, Larkin, nice flash, does get him away. Really good engage though from Haetung and PJ Cesar. They're doing a really good job together to really start to snowball this mid lane, and this is kind of what we saw from them in that LeBlanc game that they had. This is what they saw. What we saw when they won that game is this kind of duo really just taking control of the game.
Yeah, and Rayenmore, when Rayenmore struggles, Prince Philip taking a lot of damage
here.
in
Trouble, actually. He can proc those vitals, but it looks like he's just going to try and escape. Does narrowly get away with his life, but that spooky gangplank winning out the trade.
Yeah, unfortunately, he took a lot of damage from the barrels there. That's the one thing you don't want to be doing when you're trying to trade with gangplank as a Fiora, walking straight into the damage that those barrels can put down. Looks like there is now some vision control here for Rayenmore in that mid lane. On one side, there is a pink. Unfortunately, he is completely devoid of vision on the side that the pink is controlled by TCA, so he has to be incredibly careful. He's probably going to keep his eyes on the side of the map where he has vision. So, yeah, on the prize. Which is that side of the map where they do have vision, because this prize is not dying. This is just Haetung, though. Again, I love the fact that Haetung is the one that's starting to get fed here as well, because he is going to be the core of the ability for TCA to deal with the poke composition here. He's going to be the one that's looking for a Spirit Rush on low. Fearless.
Yeah, Fearless is in trouble here. The slow is going to be stacked on up, and Prince Philip is more than happy to finish that kill off for himself. So he's going to be picking that one up. And that is going to be, he's already got a pretty significant CS lead up in that top lane, so he's going to be very happy with that extra infusion of gold right there.
Yeah, no, Rayenmore now, I think they're, as a duo, going to look to clear some vision and make sure Rayenmore remains safe here in this mid lane. They are going to pink out there, so they're going to ping out that pink ward as Haetung looks himself maybe to try and defend it, but they will not manage to do so. Rayenmore's going to feel a little bit safer in this position here as Outrage decides to start controlling more vision around the jungle and the just entrances to the enemy side jungle. So I like this from the Null. They're trying to keep the pressure on around this mid lane in terms of vision, and that just keeps Rayenmore that little bit safer. But there is already a 2-level advantage here for Haetung in this mid lane after, again, Rayenmore struggling in the early game. He has seemed to struggle to early game jungle pressure. One thing he seems to be caught out with time and time again, but hopefully we'll see him make his way back into the fray. He's got that cleanse and flash up very soon.
Yeah, and that's one of the issues you're always going to have if you pick these low mobility mid laners. Once your summoners are on cooldown, you've got to be so careful with your positioning, and you kind of basically choose, am I going to be putting myself in a dangerous position, or am I forfeiting 20 CS lead kind of thing? And unfortunately, he did opt to go for the dangerous position and then end up losing out in CS as well. But Haetung looking for the charm onto Rayenmore. He's going to find it. Nice cleanse comes out, but that's half of his HP already.
Yeah, he's going to have to use that laser to clear the wave. Haetung took a lot of damage there as well. And the True Fire barrage does... yeah, exactly. This is Prince Philip now starting to do his work against Gangplank, and actually he's going to step right up to him with the ultimate.
Yeah, Grand Challenge comes out. That's going to be the slow coming down. Can he proc the vitals? Yes, he can is the answer. He's going to get that heal as well.
Massive overextension here, though.
A top lane tier 2 if they can burst it down quickly. There's a lot of people coming on over. Giblet and PJ Says are both already here, but actually they don't have that much in the way of reinforcements. Larkin completely out of mana, and it looks like he's going to be that sacrificial lamb, and wolf for that matter. And Prince Philip going to be trying to head away. Haetung is there, though. The charm is going to be available. There's the dredge line, and that is going to be Prince Philip going down. I say that, it does turn around a bit of damage, but Haetung finally finishes him off.
They get a turret for it, though, so that maintains the gold lead at a very meager 200. Actually, Prince Philip maybe could have escaped there. I think it was very unlikely, but if he managed to riposte that charm, then potentially would have stunned up the area. I believe that counts as CC, so it would have stunned the recipient up after the the riposte. They're actually now going to get a huge lane swap as the wave pushes towards Gangplank, because Fearless is only level 5 and has quite a significant CS disadvantage. He's now hit level 6, so that ultimate will start to become useful across the map as well.
Yeah, it certainly will. And that is kind of the big thing for Gangplank, is that ultimate and the global pressure that you have off the back of that one. But let's take a look across the scoreboard right now and kind of work out where we are in the game. Ezreal currently about 13 CS ahead of his lane opponent, and over in the mid lane as well we see a 20 CS lead as well as 2 kills and 2 assists in favour of Heytung, who is honestly a standout player for the lineup of TCA. PJ says that as well, doing incredibly well with 1 kill and 2 assists. And then up in the top lane, it's going in favour of the Null, as you can see, the 2 kills and a 20 CS lead.
Yeah, Rayan Mort just devoted to using his laser to clear the waves. Prince Philip now heading back. They want to defend their blue buff, I believe. That looks where everyone seems to be fighting around. Heytung gets potentially caught out by Braum. Nope, just does a bit of damage to the Braum. And Dragon is on the cards now for the TCA lineup. I don't think Prince Philip wants to get too close without the backup of his team right now.
No, Fearless going to be here as well, setting up those barrels, which should just about perfectly zone away the opponents. They are going to go for a little bit of a push in this mid lane. Not really going to be able to commit to that tower, though. Just going to get a little bit of damage down. Raymort with a nice little bit of poke. Now, one thing we really need to see from Raymort here is we need him to be kind of upping his game in terms of farm right now, because in the last game we saw Raymort in, he just wasn't able to get that damage to be a threat. And that's something that looks is going to struggle with. Very, very item-reliant champion, but Rainmore has actually been caught. Lamb's Respite will keep him alive for now. The shield comes out as well, and in fact, he just walks straight on out of that ultimate. Will be finished off by Heytung, who Spirit Rushed forward, and in fact, flashed for that one as well. Larkin now trying to find a diverse route through the jungle just to try and escape this one, but he's got 3 men on his tails, and Giblet, in fact, has arrived on the scene. That's going to be him going down. Raisins picks that kill up. And honestly, Null Titans, they're kind of falling apart a little bit here.
This looks like a weakness has been exposed by TCA. Heytung has had absolute success in this mid lane versus Raymort, and this is unlike Raymort. This is not the Raymort we're used to seeing from the Null Titans, the safe player who never really dies to jungle ganks. He's had a real problem in the last 2 games specifically at just being exposed by the enemy jungler aggressively. Prince Philip on a carry champion is great, but once you're already 3-0-3 in the mid lane and you're 0-4 on your side, you're starting to wonder whether that's even going to matter. And Prince Philip at 2-1 is not having the same level of success that Heytung is in that mid lane. And again, it's a difficult matchup for the Lux. You know, it's not easy as a Lux player to avoid that kind of hard engage, I suppose, that the Ahri provides. And it's going to get even worse as the game goes on, because Ahri, as I said, is probably the core of dealing with this sort of long-range poke composition. And if she gets this fed, she's just going to be doing too much damage for the Null Titans to deal with, and they won't be given the time they need to get towards a later game position.
Heytung is just waiting in the wings here. Well, I think he was looking for that opportunity to assassinate Raymond. Not going to walk anywhere near that bush though. But I mean, not all hope is lost just yet for the Null. They're only 2,500 gold behind, so definitely something that they can come back from. Let's bear in mind that last game we were on about an 8,000 gold lead at this point.
Look at the level disadvantage in the mid lane though. 3 levels to Heytung right now. TCA Raisins, they're all going for a dive on Luke here, but immediately see Larkin and back off. They changed their mind as soon as the support arrived from the enemy. This is the problem now for Larkin. He kind of has to stay around the mid lane, because just Heytung will completely dominate if there is no pressure for Raymort on this Lux.
Yeah,
but
I think one big thing that the Null kind of have in their favour right now is they do have this Fiora that is 30 CS up. She's got 2 kills for herself already. Like, Fiora is the kind of champion right now that it can just not matter if you lost the early game once you get those items on her, because she will just be this unstoppable terror that no one can really deal with. That split push is just so hard to try and deny, and we are going to see a bit of a siege going on in this mid lane. They're trying to take this tier 2 tower, but I don't think they're going to be able to just yet. Null managed to protect that objective for themselves.
Prince Philip, I like the use of the Titanic Hydra for Prince Philip. Oh no!
Oh,
finally gets
Fearless
through.
Ends up going down. Prince Philip with a nice little play down in that bottom lane does dive that tower. In a whole lot of trouble though. He's going to look for the recall. I don't know if he's got time to get this one off. We are going to see. Cesar, he's decided he's not even going to look for this one. He realizes that recall will come through, and that's going to let him get away with that one.
So I like the use of Titanic Hydra here. It does 2 things for Prince Philip on this Fiora, the cone of damage dealt is slightly further radius than you'll get using the Ravenous Hydra. So you can attack minion waves, and it kind of works a little bit like Lyssandra's Ice Shards in the sense that once it hits a minion, it kind of sparks out as a cone afterwards, and you still do the damage. So when Gangplank is stepping up to farm, you can attack your own minions and deal damage to the Gangplank, which is what we saw there, that kind of served as poke for the Fiora. But also that going the Ravenous Hydra versus someone like a Malphite is great because you're likely going to have longer sustained fights. Versus a Gangplank, you actually don't need that lifesteal because Gangplank is a very bursty champion. He's not looking to have sustained fights with you. He's looking to deal damage in a very short period of time. So having the extra, I guess, health behind you from the Titanic Hydra that it provides is actually far more beneficial when you're dealing with a Gangplank.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see how this one pans out. So far it's doing fantastic for him. He's also got that Phage, so going to have that extra little bit of movement speed, and currently Fearless still working towards that Triforce. Hasn't quite been able to grab that one for himself, though. Prince Philip might have found himself in a bit of a tricky situation, though, as we do see PJ Cesar heading into the lane. But the barrel's not quite going to connect to Prince Philip, and he should be okay to get away with this one. The fight might just be kicking off, though, as they head onto Raisins. He's going to get stunned up. Nice knock-up, in fact. The concussive blows don't finish on stacking just yet, but 1 minute until Dragon.
And actually, Newell are trying to stem the bleeding that they suffered from that early mid-lane loss. And you can see here, Raynor Mort knows exactly that he cannot be in that same area of the map as he gets caught out by...
Yeah, Ray and Mort in a whole lot of trouble. Raisins, big Vance Joy fan, using that Riptide, but Rainbow looks like he will be able to escape this one. I feel like Haytoon could have Spirit Rushed to try and secure that kill, to be honest.
An oddly specific pun there.
Yeah, I just was looking for an opportunity to use it.
That one pretty good song that we heard on Radio 1 for about...
I like that song. It's on my playlist, mate.
It is a good song, but it's quite specific.
I can play it on guitar, actually.
Can you? You are a very good guitar player, actually.
I'm not that good.
I know. I think you're short selling yourself here, Munch. You're a pretty solid guitar player.
Cheers, mate.
If we were to rate you in terms of guitar playing in like a League of Legends solo queue rating, you're definitely at least a master player.
Cheers, mate. That's a great rate, mate.
It's a great rate, mate. 8 out of 8. Larkin gets caught.
He does indeed, and I can't find him on my thing, but Lamb's Respite will keep him alive, that heal. And then a nice little shield from Ray and Mort in the end will keep him on the map. Haytoon ends up using that Spirit Rush and Ignite to try and secure that one, and isn't going to be successful. So the Ignite going to be on cooldown for a little while. That's going to reduce his kill pressure, but I don't feel like it's too big of a deal right now for him, since he's already finished off those 2 items.
The Newell are starting to lose control of this Dragon area. You can see the vision for TCA is all centered around this river area. Haven't ventured too far into the Newell side jungle, and actually, from what you can see here, there's fairly defensive ward setup, mainly across the top half of the map here for the Newell. They've got good vision control of their red side jungle entrances near the river and the blue side entrances for TCA. Actually, fairly sporadic vision, I'd say, between the two teams. Not that sort of regular vision pattern that you're used to seeing teams put down. TCA have a lot of vision around this river and then very little vision elsewhere, and Newell kind of have wards dotted here and there, you know.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of a lot better vision that we've seen out of some of the teams here. We've definitely at least covering the areas, but not very much vision denial coming out from these guys, and kind of just allowing the vision to come through for their opponents. Rainmort not quite landing that final spark onto Haytoon just then. Raisin's looking for the engage, though. He's going to find Larkin. That's going to be the cannon barrage as well coming out onto these players. Ayuki just gets destroyed. Nice flash, though. Dodges the second proc on that orb of deception. And that is going to be them disengaging.
This is the kind of way that you deal with a poke composition like that, and having the Ahri, that was very nearly disaster for Newell Titans, but they still allowed Prince Philip the time to split in that bot lane. They actually brought everyone together for that engage, and I've got to say that heal and flash from Luke was definitely very important to maintaining their safety in that mid lane and keeping that mid lane tower alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And
still a 3-level disadvantage for Ray and Mort as well.
Yeah,
the CS, sorry, I was going to say the CS gap is actually kind of closed.
Yeah, Ray and Mort not really having a good time with it. Obviously, when you get to a certain point, the CS gap, unless you continuously punish that player, they're kind of just going to stay at that gap and just kind of stay even from that point. Right, Rift Scuttler has just topped himself, and we're going to see Baron spawning in 10 seconds now. Do you think this could be an objective that maybe TCA look towards with it? I mean, they've only got a 1,500 gold, so it's kind of...
I don't think that the Baron is something that they'll be taking anytime soon without getting picks. Obviously, they've got the potential to make picks with Nautilus and the Ahri, but they don't really have a very quick Baron team. Say if they had the Cogmore like we saw from Manlight, then maybe, they could go and take an early Baron because he will shred through it. But, you look at the TCA comp, you don't think, oh, they'll get through Baron quickly. They've got a regular team, really. They need to make a pick to make that happen. Definitely can happen with Hatung as well. Rayamort is starting to get the AP behind him now. Very far behind the Ahri still, but, as Lux, you just need to get some flat AP and then you can start to make picks.
I think as well with these compositions, it's less about how directly behind his opponent is and just how much damage he can do. Because if you can catch someone as Lux, it's not a duel. You just delete them. So.
I just want to have a look at the vision control here. I don't know if we can bring up on the map the two vision perspectives, but the TCA look like they've got far more control here compared to the Null, where it was all very dark across the screen. Look at TCA, they have the entire mid-rift of the map completely lit up in their favour. And again, I talk about vision quite a lot because it's so important to the new sort of meta of League of Legends as Spirit Rush.
Got a vision of Prince Philip right now as he comes in for this flank. He's onto Hatung, a nice final spark. Hatung's so low, but he's going to be able to escape this one. Prince Philip incredibly low, and now Outrage is going to be going down. Lamb's Respite is going to keep Prince Philip alive, but here comes Giblet with a double kill, and he's looking for more. That's a triple for him as Luke goes down into the hands of Fearless, and only one member of the Null Titan survives.
Oh dear, why? Why, Null, did you even bother to bring Prince Philip out of that side lane? It plays exactly into the hands of TCA. All they want is these skirmishes and teamfights because they know they beat you out. There was absolutely no way you win a full 5-on-5 teamfight with the composition that you're running at this stage in the game as well. Stupid play from the Null. I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but it was really poor decision, especially onto an Ahri with that Spirit Rush. And yes, Prince Philip is fed, but leave him in the side lane. Leave him where he's going to have to be forced to 1v1 because Fiora is just not that good in a teamfight. She's awesome when she's really fed, but it's a 2-item Fiora right now. Yeah. Far better to put her up against the Gangplank.
Well, there you go. Null get a hefty telling off from Ex-Scoundrel on that one, and I feel like they maybe thought that they'd caught two people out, but just didn't have the vision. I mean, we just looked at the vision right before that. They didn't know anywhere kind of where the enemy was, and I mean, had they managed to finish off Hatung, maybe it could have gone a bit differently for them, but unfortunately was not the case.
Well, you have the Nautilus there as well. He's so fantastic at locking up a singular target for the duration of a team fight. As soon as Philip jumped in, he was going to have everything unloaded to him because the only threat on the side of the Null right now is Philip. So why wouldn't you throw all your CC onto him? It's just so silly to go... When you pick a composition like this, why do you play away from your composition's strengths? Every team seems to have done it this game. Whenever they pick a split push composition, they seem desperate to get a team fight when they're behind. You don't need to. Just leave Prince Philip splitting.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they're going to be able to change their tune a little bit going further into this game, but Larkin has been caught out. Lamb's Respite very early coming out from Larkin. That is going to kind of deny the engage coming on through, though, and it's going to give them an opportunity to kind of clear this wave a little bit, but that Baron is still going to be there when the next wave comes on. So, I mean, a whole lot of abilities used just to protect that tower. And if we take a look up in the top lane, Hatung has just 1v1'd Prince Philip, which is pretty much worst case scenario for the Null.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but this looks almost like it, unless the Null can stall this out for another 10 to 15 minutes, which just by the way it looks is not going to happen.
Yeah, this is all starting to fall apart right now. Towers dropping left, right, and center, and TCA looking like they're well on the way to qualifying for our major season. They're onto the second inhibitor tower right now. They've already got the one in the top lane. Hatung just going to be beating away on that inhibitor, and that is going to be the tower going down. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how you effectively use a Baron buff. Hatung, so close to killing Larkin, is going to force that flash away. Prince Philip arriving on the scene once more, but Hatung 4-0-5, 213 farm. This guy is just terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, he is a monster in this mid lane. Now built up a 70 CS lead as well. Can solo the only member of the Null team that is in any way threatening. And again, it's all fallen apart from the decision by the Null to look for a team fight when they just didn't need to have one. They just forced the Spirit Rush out of Hatung. That's good enough. That buys you time because time is what you needed. You don't then go and throw all your time away by trying to kill him when you still don't have the vision to assess where the rest of the team is. And honestly, if the Null lose this, then it's their own faults.
Oh, yeah, that typically is the case when you lose a game. It does tend to be your own fault.
Not necessarily, because not every team makes mistakes. Sometimes you just get straight out outplayed. You know, when you have a composition like this, that you can stall things out, you can allow Prince Philip to 1v1, because before that team fight, I imagine Prince Philip could probably even have tried to 1v1 Haintung. The best thing about being Fiora versus Inari, if that is the split push that ends up happening, is you can riposte that charm. And if you can riposte that charm, then you can attempt to win that team fight, or at least force Ari to use the Spirit Rush, which takes away a load of her dueling potential in her kit. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this game can get stalled out here. There's a 10k gold disadvantage, but it's not unwinnable.
The inhibitors aren't gone yet.
Yes, exactly.
That's the key thing here. If the Null can somehow find a pick, find something, I mean, they still have a Lux, let's remember. So there is the opportunity to land one of those light bindings and kind of just one combo someone later on. But they need to get more items behind it first.
Exactly. Look at the AP on Rayamort. He has to have time, and time is something that is a precious commodity because it's very, very quickly and rapidly falling away from the Null at this point in time. You know, Rayamort needs 10 minutes, 15 minutes before he can even get to a position where he's going to one-shot someone.
Luke has been caught up by Raisins trying to go further on for that one, but they're not really that bothered. They're going to go for the inhibitor instead. In the meantime, Haintung still just pushing up in that top lane, and a second ago I said they've still got the inhibitors if they can hold on. But that's immediately two of them going down. Haintung has just gone straight into the back line. This is going to be them just annihilated. Haintung can go wherever he pleases. He is so fed right now. That's another double kill coming through into the hands of Giblet. Raynmore incredibly low, but they're still on their middle inhibitor while the enemy team is onto their Nexus. Haintung gets the grand challenge issued, but he's going to be going down instead. Prince Philip just gets crit out by Giblet, and this is going to be honestly one of the most decisive games we've seen in the promos. There's the ace out of Fearless. And that is going to be TCA handedly securing their spot in the ESL UK Premiership.
What a quick game from TCA as well. Absolutely tore them apart. Right at the end there, Luke